Hey, Mark, how come some young whiskey is surprisingly good and some is not?
That's a great question, Dan. Hey, this is Mark Still. I'm here with Dan Cavallari. We're in the world headquarters of the Practical Still, a.k.a. Dan's Garage. And that's a really good question, Dan. How come some really young whiskeys can be surprisingly tasty and flavorful? And frankly, some are exactly what you expect.
Yeah.
Not good at all.
Not good at all.
Yeah. Why is that?
I think that's a great question, but first we should talk about what we're drinking. And you're not drinking anything, which shame on you.
It has empty glass.
Yeah.
Empty glass is a terrible affliction.
Yes. Please choose among the 12 bottles we have.
Well, so 12 bottles, but I like your question because I think it's a great question.
Yeah.
Why is it some of that young whiskey is really good and some of it's not? So let's drink some young whiskey. Tell me, run through the lineup.
Yeah. So, I get a lot of gift bottles because people know I like whiskey and I fix a lot of people's bicycles. And so,
what's the thing? Because I don't get a lot of gift bottles.
Yeah. Well, see, I used to be a bicycle mechanic and all my friends ride bicycles. And so I fix their bikes and they say, here's a bottle of whiskey. And what they like to do is they like to give me stuff that's local. And usually local stuff is really young or it's sourced.
Right.
And so I end up with a lot of bottles like this. And that's not a bad thing. I really respect and admire my friends for, giving me things that I've never tried. So what we have here is quite a wide array of young whiskeys. What I'm assuming is I shouldn't say that because some of them might, well, we'll get to that. But for what I have here is a lot of stuff from Colorado.
Yeah.
So I've got right here a Leopold Brothers American small batch whiskey, pot distilled from open fermented sour mash. This is a Denver distillery. And next to that, I've got this Da Vinci quarter cask ancient grains. You can see
also local from Canada.
From Canada, yes. Canada's local. It's just up the hill a little bit. Yeah. This one was sent by a friend whose dad actually was one of the distillers, and he has since retired. But this is an interesting one. I didn't open the bottle on this. Next to that, I've got Peach Street Distillers Smoked Rye, which is on the western slope of Colorado, I believe. They're out in, I want to say Grand Junction, Palisade, famous for its peaches. So that gives you the name there. The other one here is the Family Jones. This is their rye, the Atticus Jones rye, straight rye whiskey. This is also, I believe, in Denver, South Denver. This will be the second bottle of Family Jones stuff that I've had. And this is their rye, which I'm told, I believe this one is distilled in Colorado at their facility in a minimum of 2 years aged. It says on the back here. And then this one is one, Mark, you brought over.
That's a Woody Creek Distillers wheat whiskey. It's a single barrel offering from a local club pick. Mm-hmm. And amazingly enough, that cute little sticker that is not the typical ugly tater sticker, quite informative. It gives you the mash bill, the date it went in the barrel, the date it came out of the barrel. So about a little over 5 years old, 5.5 years old.
And I should mention, just for perspective, there are several bottles of Booker's over there, which I guess you could still consider a young whiskey.
You could. In relation to premium whiskeys, having a sub 7-year-old whiskey that commands the kind of prices and furor that Booker's does is certainly on the young side.
Yeah. So anyways, we got a wide array of stuff here, a lot of Colorado stuff.
All right, back to the part where there's no whiskey in my glass.
Yeah. Which one do you want to start with?
Well, I think we'll just go the order you gave them. I've never had a Leopold Brothers anything.
Okay.
I'm gonna pour if you don't mind, because I can't handle your pours.
Dan pours are notoriously heavy.
American small batch. Let's talk about labels and names. So small batch whiskey. Nobody said bourbon. It's whiskey, which means it can have pretty much any mash bill it wants to have.
Yeah. And that goes back to one of the things that we talked about earlier about getting into whiskey. And, one of the things is kind of learning to read these labels so you know what you're actually buying.
Yeah, because it's going to be on a shelf with all sorts of other stuff. And so noting that it says, and look, it doesn't mean it's bad, right? It just means it's not hitting the marks for 51% corn. I can be a bourbon. 51% rye can be a rye.
Yeah. And for perspective, this is a 86 proof. So, lower proof. Yeah. Which again, not a bad thing, for all you proof hounds, 86 is okay as long as it's got the complexity of flavors and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And what while you're sipping that, I think one of the things we're going to have to talk about, that face is not promising. I'll let you recover for a moment before we. Yeah. One of the things that I want to talk about at some point today during this podcast is the presence of oak in all of these. And I think that's a tell for a lot of young whiskeys.
Yeah.
Let's get your impressions here while you're making those faces.
Well, I'd like to know more about fermentation in general. So I think it's cool that they put details on there about the open fermentation. Mm-hmm. And what that means, I think, is that natural yeast can get in there. Mm-hmm. So distillers are often very protective of their yeast. Mm-hmm. There are people on staff whose entire job it is to take care of yeast. Yeah. Obviously, they don't want that contaminated with what might be a fine yeast. It's just not theirs floating around in the air. Sure. So that's kind of fun. I don't know how that would affect the taste of a whiskey. I do know that if we're talking about why are some young whiskeys really good and some aren't, it has to be part of it owes to fermentation. Mm-hmm. I'm really just putting off telling you that this does not taste very good to me. It's not a particularly tasty whiskey.
That was also my impression. But one of the things I have seen about them, and I don't know a ton about fermentation like you do, but I've seen photos of their open fermentation. It's basically just a big room, and they basically rake it out on the floor. I mean, it's right out there on the floor.
The fermentation is going to happen in a tank kind of thing,
right?
You may be thinking about the malted barley and malting the barley. Malting happens on the floor.
Yeah,
are used to now. If they're doing floor malted barley, floor malting is not many people do that anymore. There's other processes where they.
And that's like a Scotch thing, right? Like that's.
So Scotch is 100% malted barley. Mm-hmm. It can't have anything else in it for single malts. And there's not that many Scotch distilleries left that do floor malting. Yeah. So if Leopold Brothers is doing that, I mean, that's awesome.
That's my understanding. I mean, I've only seen photos and I've read a couple articles about them, and this is going back a bit. But yeah, they do the open floor malting. I don't know if this is one of them that they do that for, but that is something they do.
I'll tell you that there is something that just doesn't jive with me in the palate of that, but the finish of that whiskey is quite nice. It has got, it's bright, and there's almost a tropical fruit to it. So maybe that's part of that fermentation. Maybe that's the floor malting of their own barley or other grains. I don't think there's any malted rye in that because I don't care for that, but I also don't care for the middle of this whiskey, but sure. But anyway, that's a good shot. We don't have any idea how old that is, or do we?
Let me see if it says anything.
If it's under, I don't remember the rules well enough to know if a whiskey is because for a bourbon, if it's under 2 years old, it's got to have an age statement.
Yeah, there's no age statement on there. There's a barrel number, but that's about it.
Well, that doesn't. So I don't remember the rule enough. I'd have to look it up on the TTB to know if American whiskey has any sort of demand on age statement.
Sure.
But anyway, not the most unpleasant young whiskey I've tasted.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and that was kind of my impression. And the person who gave this to me, they were really excited about it. I mean, they said, "Oh, I really like this. Yeah. The flavors were good." What I got was just a blast of oak.
It is oaky in the front.
Yeah. And that to me is like I said, a kind of a tell with younger whiskeys is you kind of get, to me, there's two major flavors. And I've told you before about my identification or whatever, the connection between young whiskeys and grappa.
Yeah.
But to me, that's like a fruity flavor. It's like an apple flavor almost. And what I find with young whiskeys is that they try to hide that it's young by oaking the crap out of it.
Well, I don't know if they some of them may try that by having a heavily charred barrel or something like that. But I think that, the grappa thing you experience is there in a young whiskey because the wood hasn't had time to do its thing. And I think the same holds true for when you get that oak blast up front. It hadn't had time to get deep into that oak. It hadn't had time to cycle. As the whiskey ages and temperatures change, the liquid gets into the wood, it comes out of the wood, it goes into the wood, and every time deeper and deeper into that wood. When it's only been in there a year or 2 years or whatever, it hadn't had time to cycle. And so what you get is that freshly charred oak right up front. Yeah. I think that's what we experienced there.
As soon as I finished, so Mark poured, I poured myself from Mark's bottle some Four Roses small batch select. So as soon as I finish that, I'll try this Leopold Brothers again.
Yeah. And that that Four Roses small. That may be one of the best under $100 bottles, and it's around 60 or 65 wherever you are. It is delicious.
It is really good,
and it's around 6 years old. They don't age date that, but so saith the internet. So it's around 6 years old.
These are, I mean, just it's always worth mentioning, but we have a lot of bottles on the table that are not expensive and really fantastic.
Yeah, not expensive is relative, but I think in today's world, to find something that like that Four Roses bottle at 60 something, that Calumet Farm 12-year-old, which probably is a Sazerac Buffalo Trace type. It's delicious. And it's 85. That's pricey, and at 94 proof, you're living in Blanton's land.
Yeah,
but it's good.
It's also the most expensive bottle on the table.
It is. Yeah.
All right, so we'll pull as soon as I finish this, I will.
I can keep going.
I think you're ready.
Need to wait for you.
Do you want to keep going left to right here, or do you want to skip
sure.
and stay with Colorado?
Well, also I don't want to go to that Woody Creek too soon because it's 120 proof, and I'll tell you right now, hot.
Well, you've already done that one anyway. All right, so let's do. You want to stick with Colorado for now?
Sure.
All right, so we got two ryes.
Okay.
We want to start with the really
well.
light.
I'll start with this smoked rye. I'm curious as to what smoked means.
Yeah. So okay, let's actually try to find out. So this is the Peach Street Distillers, and this is another one that's it's funny. I've gone to sit down at bars where I know the bartender and I respect the bartender, and he'll recommend this or she will recommend this to me. And I've had some Peach Street stuff, and I did not love it. But so let's give this a go. So smoked rye says a deep smoky rye that ain't for the faint of heart.
Ain't. It's from my neck of the woods.
But the faint of heart don't come around here much anyway. That's what this says on the back. Distilled from grain.
As all whiskey should be.
The color is very light.
It's very light. It does say straight on it.
Yes.
Which is, that's important to me.
Yeah.
Rye whiskey, as opposed to bourbon, if it doesn't say straight on the label, I can't. I'm 53 years old, Danny. Dan just held up some very tiny print across the table, our socially distanced table, and expected me to read it. What does it say?
It says Colorado Distiller License 001. I don't know. I just thought that was interesting.
There's a DSP number. Could they possibly be? Maybe it's not a DSP number. That's something different.
Yeah, it might be something different.
It is very light.
It is.
Yeah. Now, rye whiskey without the straight designation can have up to 2.5% of other stuff in it, flavors and nonsense. That says straight. The other thing about a straight whiskey is, and now I'm not now I think I know this, but I'm not sure. A straight whiskey. Actually, where did I see straight? I don't see it anymore. Oh, never mind. That's the Family Jones one, the next one.
Oh,
so this is no straight.
You're just lying.
So this could be all sorts of stuff.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, the nose is actually kind of pleasant. It smells like scotch to me, like a peaty scotch.
It does.
Yeah.
Do you know if they...
It kind of looks like a peaty scotch.
Well, I'm wondering because when it's... If it's not straight, I don't know that it has to necessarily be in a new barrel. This could be...
Yeah, it could be a fresh barrel.
Second use barrels. It could be first use barrels in a low, small amount of time.
We'll have to look at this because this is an interesting color. That's really what I'm coming away with.
Yeah, out of the
here.
Bottle, that nearly has a peated...
Doesn't it?
It doesn't in the glass.
It's really... I think the nose is kind of pleasant out of the bottle. I don't know. I don't have it in my glass, so...
It's because you poured 1.5 gallons of whatever that is in your glass.
I know when Mark comes over, I'm pouring a lot of stuff for myself.
We know who has to get in the car and go home at some point and who doesn't.
Yeah, I'm in the home base right here. I got nothing to do today.
That's oddly familiar, but outside of whiskey.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so for those who don't know, Palisade, Colorado is on the western slope, the western side of Colorado. It's deserty, famous for its peaches. So there's a lot of peaches that come out of Palisade. So I don't know if that matters to you at all, but that's kind of what they're noted for. But dry climate, so could factor into the aging. I don't know. How you feeling?
Well, it's gin-like.
Yeah, gin-like. Okay.
Yes,
gin-like. Well, I suppose that shouldn't be too surprising given the color. It's not.
Yeah, well, we're at a disadvantage because as a rye, not a straight rye, it doesn't have to disclose anything. Mm-hmm. So, and to be whiskey, it only has to enter a barrel and come out. It doesn't have. It could do that all in the same day,
right?
And it could have coloring in it. Yeah. So, and this does. This does to me taste like there's something more than just the whiskey in there, but it's hard to say. This is not unpleasant at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It smells great. I mean, just from what I can tell from the nose. I mean, I said in one of the videos I did recently, I said that the whiskey has to kind of do 4 things really well. It's like the nose, front of the tongue, over the tongue, and then the finish. So if they're getting the nose, like, hey, they're 1 for 4 already.
Well, the palate's fine. I just don't taste any rye in there.
Sure.
I mean, if you put that in front of me, I would not think rye whiskey.
Yeah.
I'd think some sort of, they call some distilleries call it ginsky. Where they'll take a gin, which is typically an unaged spirit, put it in a barrel for a while. That's the kind of vibe I'm getting off of this. If you roll that over some ice, put it in a nice little coupe glass, I think I had some kind of slightly mixed cocktail.
Okay.
But it came right out of a bottle, so I shouldn't think that. But if a friend served this to me, like you just did, my friend,
yes,
I'd drink this.
Yeah.
I don't think I'd ever think it was rye whiskey.
Sure. I'm having a cognitive dissonance because I'm drinking 4 Roses and you're talking about this. I'm like, peach drinks.
I think blind, I would be really confused. If you told me we're going to blind taste some whiskey and I was nosing this, I wouldn't know what that is.
Yeah.
But it's not unpleasant.
I finally finished my 4 Roses, so I'm ready to take this journey with you. Yeah. Although I've already had the Leopold Brothers. So, all right, I'm going to try this Peach Street. I'm going to do a splash, not a Dan pour.
So just half glass. Stop.
That's good, right?
You get fired as a bartender right off.
I know.
For overpouring.
I know.
Your customers would love you.
There's a reason I'm on the other side of the bar. I do like the nose, though. I will say, and I can get that.
It just doesn't smell like whiskey.
No, I get that grappa flavor again, and that even in the nose. I should bring out some grappa. I have some grappa, and you can kind of compare. Do you want me to grab it?
Yeah, that'd be fun.
All right, you can pause the show for a minute.
There is a way to pause. I don't know what it is.
We'll sit here.
I'll just hang out.
Yeah.
I'm going to hang out and talk while Dan's gone.
All right, I'll be right back. I have returned. I brought fresh glasses for the grappa.
Oh, good. Because we don't want to adulterate her.
I'm schmott.
You schmott fella. I've been singing.
Oh, nice.
I'll most likely cut that out later.
I think you should leave a little bit. So this grappa did come straight from Italy. I stuffed it in my luggage when I came back from Italy the last time, and I was.
Did you declare that? How does that work?
What? So I was actually staying on the banks, the slopes of Monte Grappa, which is where grappa is from. So this is pretty clear. I mean, it's straight clear grappa, so it's pretty young.
I'll find some romantic music to play with your description of where you stay.
Just put some Sinatra over this. Will be great.
A little Frank in there.
Yeah. So here, let me pour a little bit. So
I'll pour a little bit.
Yeah, I'll pour mine. You can pour yours. I know you're afraid.
I'm not afraid. I have a responsibility.
Wait, is that perfect?
That's good.
Yeah. See, look at that. I'm learning. So grappa, I keep talking about this, and grappa, for those who don't know, grappa is not distilled the same way as whiskey, but it's grapes essentially. It's the skins and the the seeds and all that.
So is it kind of like Italian brandy distilled from grapes?
It's younger than that. It's
unaged though.
Yeah. And I'm not a grappa aficionado. I've had a few bottles. I picked them up one when I was in Venice, and that was more of a it had color to it.
I'm really glad you did that, because I know exactly what you're talking about now.
Yeah, you can taste that sort of sweetness to it.
Because when you say that before, I would think, well, I don't taste grapes, but that's not what you taste when you taste this. And this is, if it's distilled from grapes, this is essentially an unaged brandy.
Mm-hmm. And you get it right off the nose too.
Moonshine.
Yeah, but it actually tastes good. It's there's a sweetness to it. And
it is. It's delicious.
Yeah, and so that's why I keep talking about grappa every time and if you haven't had grappa, you wouldn't know what the hell I'm talking about. But it's basically like a fruity sweetness to it.
I have been educated.
Yeah, and it's good. It's not like it's a delicious bad flavor.
That's right. Yeah, so I did put that negative connotation to it when you would say that, but not grapey.
No,
and not bad.
No,
just something I get that now.
All right, so I just had the smoked rye. Ooh, that's actually not bad.
It's not. It just doesn't taste like whiskey.
No. It's something else, but it is good. Like there's some young whiskeys where I'm like, okay,
What are you pulling here?
yeah. No, but this is decent.
That is flavorful. That is a flavorful beverage.
Yeah.
I just would have thought it was a slightly aged gin or maybe some kind of tequila.
I kind of get like a peaty gin.
Yeah.
Like that's what I get from this.
Well, and peat is herbaceous and gins are full of herbs and that kind of sort. So,
well, here's something funny. Like with the Leopold brothers, I get that grappa taste. I actually don't get that with it. Oh, geez.
no,
I just ruined my drywall.
just the back of it.
Yeah. No, but I don't get the grappa taste with this. They're doing something right here.
Agreed.
I would say, because this is something I would sip on. But I
would not, but I would throw that in a stirring glass, throw some ice over it, a little dash of bitters, chill the snot out of it, and drink it. That'd be tasty.
You know what I would do with this is actually if somebody was curious, if somebody was a bourbon drinker and was curious about scotch but not ready to jump in, I'd be like, well, here's some scotch flavors.
I'd just give them some scotch.
Yeah. All right. If I didn't have any scotch on the shelf,
I don't want to be ugly, but I don't think that would encourage people
to want scotch,
to move into scotch or bourbon or whatever.
All right. Maybe I'm stretching here.
You're stretching a bit.
All right. I haven't had grappa in a while, so I'm going to drink a little bit of this.
Yeah. I hadn't had it ever, I guess.
Have you really not?
I guess not.
I think it's lovely after like an Italian meal.
I could see that. Where is my pasta?
I will make some pasta. Would you like some? I have gnocchi inside. Would you like some gnocchi?
I would love some.
All right.
I love that. Cool. All right. Well, we're learning.
Yeah. So we have two more. And so I guess along the way, we should talk about why some of these taste better than others. And because, for me, the benchmark is always Booker's, and Booker's is a 6-year-old whiskey, which is sort of a different animal.
It's a different animal. Don't you think maybe the Peerless?
Yeah, that's a good
might be another, because that, when they first released Peerless Rye, it was 2 years old.
Yeah.
They wanted $100 a bottle, which was ridiculous, but that was decent whiskey at 2 years old.
I'm glad I took that jump because it was phenomenal.
Yeah. Well, in the bottle I've got now 4 years old, still young, but no longer needs an age statement. 4 years old, straight whiskey or straight bourbon doesn't need an age statement.
Yeah.
It's delicious.
Yeah. And the rye too.
I have heard people complain about it, but I don't know what they're complaining about. I'm at the bottom of that bottle of the rye you gave me.
Yeah.
That is a fabulous whiskey.
It's really good.
Yeah.
It's
and
really
it's
good.
young. And I think that brings me back to fermentation. I think those folks spend a lot of time on fermentation.
Yeah.
New Riff's another one. New Riff started with their master distiller, I believe, came out of the craft beer industry, where it's all fermentation.
Yeah, right.
So I think they take a different approach to it, and a 4-year-old bottle of New Riff is delicious.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think there's people trying to do different things with young whiskeys like Glyph. The whole Glyph thing. Have you heard of this?
No.
So they're trying to science it and not age it at all. It's all like I don't want to go too deep into it because I don't know really well,
Right.
but their whole thing is, better bourbon through science. And so it's not really aged and it's not good.
Yeah. Well, maybe one day.
Yeah.
But I think one piece of this puzzle is why are some young whiskeys really tasty? Well, part of it could be just the understanding of a fermentation process and being really good at that and being willing to try something different. What works well in fermentation for something that's going to end up being 5 to 10 years old may be different than what do you get when it's young.
Yeah. I mean, as young whiskeys go, I'm going to put this in the win column. I mean, I think it's good. It's good in a different way.
I just don't believe it's whiskey.
No, but I mean, okay, so you put these two bottles, I got the Four Roses next to it. Those are clearly different beverages.
Sure.
But as young whiskeys go, and that's what I'm trying to get at, is there's a spectrum of young whiskeys.
Yeah.
I think this is on the winner side.
For a young distilled beverage,
Yes.
it's on the winner
Distilled
side.
beverage, okay.
I'm just not sure there's not other stuff in there.
Yeah. It's like diet whiskey. I don't know.
Well, there's not a lot of rules around that.
Yeah,
And to me, it just tastes like there's something else in there.
I think you're right, but I do think it's good. All right. So, you want to move on?
Let's move on.
All right. So we got two more. There's one more Colorado whiskey.
I would love to go straight to that Atticus Jones because we just came from something purported to be rye whiskey, which I do not believe tastes like
It doesn't have much rye.
rye whiskey.
Yeah.
And let's go to something that bills itself as a straight rye, which I can see from here is 75% rye, 15% corn, and 10% malted barley. That's a very interesting.
That's very rye.
There's a there's a group of distillers in New York that have come up with a different standard called the Empire State Rye standard. And it's a similar thing where I think 70 or 75% of the grain has to be distilled in the state.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting
What's that one
mash bill.
There's a distillery in like Cooperstown. I'm blanking on it.
Yeah, I don't know. That's interesting. That's cool that they put the mash bill. I love transparency.
Yeah.
It is a straight whiskey. And is there an age statement on that?
This is Atticus Jones, a Colorado straight rye whiskey aged for a minimum of 2 years. It is double pot distilled. That is a horn going on.
Did you believe us?
Yeah.
We're in a garage.
Welcome to Suburbia.
With the door open.
Double pot distilled, batch 1, bottled $23.94. Let's see what else. Blah, 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 blah. Lots of blah, blah, blah. There's some more blah, blah, blah. Yeah, that's about the basics right there.
Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
So straight whiskey, but needed the age statement of at least 2 years old because it's... There you go.
It's a synthetic cork.
Still a nice pop.
All right. So,
And very dark.
yeah, it is dark. I immediately just on the nose, I will say, while you're doing it side by side, smell the nose of grappa versus the nose of that. And that's why I keep saying grappa. Do you smell it?
I get the vibe. Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
But I got to tell you, the nose out of this really funky looking bottle is
It's pretty good.
it's tasty.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do my own pouring.
The bottle looks like something that would be on like a doctor's shelf from 1801.
Exactly.
You know?
The tonic that's gonna make you feel better.
Right. The quote unquote tonic. It is a good nose though. But I do get that grappa.
Much more grappa-y out of the, and I think so.
Oh, yeah.
So now that I've tasted the grappa, that is much more unaged or low-aged spirit feel out of that. Yeah.
This grappa. I mean, I'm glad we brought out the grappa because now I don't feel like I'm crazy.
I think grappa is very aligned, but I also think if you're a Blanco tequila fan or an unaged rum fan, that you'll find that same
You
sort
get the
of
same thing.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to taste this one with you because I finally emptied my glass.
You've caught up. Now?
I'm doing lighter pours.
I drank slow enough that you caught up.
My glass is bigger than yours, so it's hard to tell.
It also means you poured at least 4 ounces. What the hell's wrong with you?
Well, look, I'm in my garage. There's places to sleep right in here. I don't need to go anywhere. All right, let's try this. Did you get that weird? Well, I'll let you talk, but there's nothing there.
I disagree. It's light for sure.
Yeah.
There's nothing disagreeable about that.
Did you get like a soda, not a taste, but a feel?
Feel? Yeah. The effervescence.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did.
That was weird. Right on the tip of the tongue.
I got to tell you, now that tastes like rye whiskey.
Okay, what am I missing here? Let me try again.
There's not a lot to it. The finish is gone in a heartbeat. But
I'm not getting it. What is that? What is that like? It feels like it's carbonated almost on the tip of the tongue. Mm-hmm. Do you get that? Mm-hmm. What is that?
I think that's just the proof, which isn't high, is it? What's the proof on that?
The proof is 94.
Yeah.
That's weird to me.
Yeah, it's unusual that the alcohol, the tingly is only on the front of the tongue.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I do get a rye flavor,
and there's the burst of oak. So I mean, clearly we're talking about a young whiskey,
but it's just so
there is
light.
there is that unaged, but there's just nothing offensive. Mm-hmm. And you think, well, gosh, there shouldn't be anything offensive. Well, there shouldn't be, but there often is, and there is not here. That is a decent tasting. It's what I would love to taste that at 4 years old or 6 years old.
Yeah,
not bad.
And to me, this is something I would make a cocktail with. Because I don't.
Yeah, well, so you and I get it. So me too.
Yeah.
But if you've got a bottle of Bullet and this on the shelf, I'm drinking this neater on ice all day long.
Interesting.
There's nothing offensive about that to me at all.
Man, I don't know. Maybe
the nose I don't like at all in the glass.
To me, the nose is just grappa.
It's unaged. Yeah. But once it's on the palate for a brief, the finish is nothing. It's just But the flavors are not offensive. I like the flavors just fine. Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm struggling with this one, and I don't know. Maybe it's because I have had other things today, but like I'm not getting much across the tongue at all.
Well, it's quick, but I do taste it. It is rye whiskey to me. Mm-hmm. Yeah, not bad.
I find the soda feel
Disconcerting.
well. It's not even disconcerting. It's just distracting.
Yeah.
Like that's the only thing I noticed.
Well, I mean, how about this? If new whiskey drinker found that and drank it, I don't think they go the wrong way. I think they go, oh,
yeah,
that's okay. I mean, it's approachable. It's not going to turn you the wrong way unless you don't like that soda feeling.
I would still choose this, the peach tree.
But that's just something else in that.
This tastes more like whiskey to me than this. I don't know, man. I'm
Who knows?
not that this is bad. And like this goes back to the whole thing with young whiskeys is these are not bad. Neither of them are bad. They're quite good, but they're different enough that I'm like, clearly you can tell they're both young whiskeys.
Yes.
But I like this has more flavor to me, the peach tree.
I think that's your, see, you don't want to talk about being a cocktail person or a mixed drink person. I think you like that peach tree smoked rye stuff better because it tastes like a mixed drink. And you just don't want to admit that you like mixed drinks.
But I don't drink. I never have mixed drinks.
Well, you should, because if you like that, you'd probably like a nice cocktail.
I don't like sugar, man. The sugary drink thing just doesn't do it for me.
Well, I don't make sweet cocktails.
Yeah, I don't know, man. The one you like had bacon in, that was really good. Maybe that's it. I just need smoked meats in my
That was the what do they call fat wash? It's called fat wash bourbon.
Yeah.
I took a bottle of
wash me in fat.
I can't remember I can't remember the bourbon. I might have used the regular Four Roses.
Who cares, man?
If you hadn't tried that, you cook up some bacon, you take an ounce or two of the bacon fat, you pour it in a bottle of bourbon. You leave it sitting for 2 or 3 days.
I don't like this.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can go home with this if you want.
I don't like it. I'm not suggesting I like that whiskey. I'm saying there's nothing offensive about it.
No. There's nothing offensive. I mean, but I just wouldn't. I think this is going to sit on my shelf for a while if I leave it here. It's not bad.
And back, to your thing, the 4 points of a proper whiskey. The nose, no good.
Yeah.
The palate, okay. No coat, no finish.
Yeah.
But to me, we're talking about a 2-year-old product that you taste and don't go, ugh.
Yeah.
That's a win.
Yeah. I am curious what makes that soda feel, that tongue feel, where, right at the tip of the tongue where it's like, it feels like it's carbonated. I am curious about that.
I don't know.
We should take a trip down there when things open.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't serve that to people proudly at this point, but to me, for a 2-year-old expression of a locally produced product, a straight whiskey,
not bad.
I don't think that's terrible.
Okay. Well, all right. So you're going with Atticus Jones. I'm going with Peachtree so far.
I'm not going to drink any more Peachtree.
All right. I'm not going to drink any more Atticus. All right. So we got one left. This is an interesting one.
I thought we tasted that, or am I just remembering your video?
You're probably remembering my video because I've only opened this once. And as you can see, there's not much gone. So I only did the open the bottle on this one. And I'll let you pour this because I know you're offended by my big pours.
I just don't want to be comatose.
Like I don't have a couch you can sleep on. No. So this is an interesting one. So a buddy of mine in the bike industry where I, until very recently, worked. Well, I guess I still do.
The job's still there. You just don't do it anymore.
It's just not me doing it. Yeah. His father was a distiller. Oh man, that's not a good face.
Well, it's a good face if you like dry erase markers.
Yeah. Oh man. Wow. That's harsh. Body slam. But okay. So here's the thing with this one. So he gave this to me and he said, my dad's a distiller. It's a Canadian whiskey. They do wine mostly, actually. It's a divine. They do mostly wine, but he was a distiller. He just recently retired. This has won awards in Canada. And that sounds like a joke.
Well, no. So give it a chance because now I remember this from your video. So barley, spelt, emmer, coruscant, and eichhorn. So not the grains we expect.
Right. I don't even know what those are. I've never even heard of those until I read them on the bottle.
Okay, so the notes on the bottle under authentically grained to glass include a candied fruit and macadamia nut. Now, I'll give you the candied fruit. Maybe that's what I picked up as a
You didn't see that.
Well, they didn't see it. Nobody saw Dan pour out that. I won't even say
Don't say the word,
which Atticus Jones whiskey he just poured out in the driveway
Unceremoniously. Sorry, Atticus.
Okay,
Jones.
so maybe what I, as a butthead, picked up as dry erase markers could be construed as candied fruit.
Can I? I'm going to pour some too, so that we can both do this together. Because I haven't had any since I did the open the bottle.
Maybe candied fruit.
See, I don't get dried marker at all.
Well, everybody's got an opinion.
All right, let's see what we got here. See, to me, the nose is almost exactly the Atticus Jones. Almost exactly.
Did you get high before I came over?
Maybe. No. To me, the nose, actually, I find the nose of this way more pleasant. What are you getting? All right, so you've already had a sip. What do you think? He's just shot the rest of it. Okay, let's see.
Well, I didn't pour very much either. And frankly, I didn't pour enough to know anything.
Well, here.
Okay, here's the bottle.
I got a whole bottle of it.
Give me the bottle then.
All right. And go ahead. Sorry, I don't want to color your experience.
I probably should have kept my mouth shut on the dry eraser marker. It doesn't. I take that back.
See, okay, I'll give you my impressions.
So that I don't know what it tastes like, but it tastes like whiskey, and that was not the case on one of the earlier ones.
Yeah.
So I'll give it that. Mm-hmm. It is not offensive. I keep saying that, and I think the reason I say that is I heard Jackie Zykan from Brown Forman say that because they work really hard to keep offensive flavors out of whiskey. And again, people will say, well, why would there be any? Well, because, corn gets moldy and not everybody pays attention. So it doesn't offend anything. It's got a nice color. I do not know if there are any rules at all in Canada about what goes in a bottle and what they call it. Mm-hmm. But to me, this tastes like whiskey. It doesn't taste to be anything else in it.
Yeah, I would say. I mean, of the bottles that we've tasted so far, I would say this is the closest.
I would call this the winner of what we've tasted.
I would agree. And in the open the bottle, what I said was, as young whiskeys go, this is one of the best I've had. Mm-hmm. To me, I think this has enough complexity to it to say, wow, okay, this as a young whiskey goes, this has a lot going for it.
100%.
Yeah. And I don't get the dry erase marker thing. To me,
I didn't either the second time I went to the bottle to the nose. I don't out of the glass.
Yeah. To me,
that's a tasty whiskey.
Yeah. To me, the nose is actually pretty similar. And this has been good because tasting this side by side with a bunch of new, younger whiskeys.
Yeah.
This is standout.
That's the right way to do that. Yeah. We don't need to taste that against 8 and 10-year-old bourbons.
Right. So I
don't know. Yeah. So I don't know if you have. I have not had whiskeys. I've had some quinoa and some amaranth whiskeys, but I haven't had one with so many different grains in that.
Yeah.
I guess what I would say is this has been but even in just the few seconds or the few minutes since I first nosed that, give that one some time because I think the first reflex will be that's not normal,
right?
And it's not because you don't normally have einkorn, and amaranth or whatever else was in there, spelt,
emmer, coruscant, barley's and everything,
but that's good.
Yeah,
what proof? What's the proof?
190.
Oh, that's close.
Yeah, it's a little hot for a 90.
Well, it's not hot. It's a hug, which is pleasant.
Yeah.
And the finish is decently long.
Yeah.
I got to say, I'm kind of impressed with that.
I am too. And when I opened this for the Open the Bottle video, the first thing I said was, this is young. And it took a minute to get beyond that. But honestly, when you open a lot of young whiskeys, a lot of the flavor profile ends up being very similar to every other young whiskey. This has some depth, I would say.
There is the oak, there is the char up
you
front.
get it, yeah.
But it's not dominant. It leaves before the finish begins. The finish is quite nice.
Yeah,
I'm impressed with that.
Yeah, I would actually drink this. I think this is. I'm impressed, and this is maybe my open or my back to the bottle of this, but I think this is, as a young whiskey goes, this is standout.
It is. I agree.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know what the rules are in Canada. It's a very dark whiskey to be young, so there could certainly be some coloring in that. Yeah. But I'm just going to open it. I'm going to drink it. This I will drink just as quickly as I would drink Old Tub or any other barely old enough not to need an age statement Kentucky bourbon.
Yeah.
And enjoy it.
I would say that. And this is an interesting little badge on the side. It says certified craft distilled from the American Distilling Institute. So distilling.com, you could probably read what that means. I don't know what that means.
I think that's one of those moving targets of what's a craft distiller.
So this says candied fruit, macadamia nuts, spicy notes of clove, allspice, and smoke. What do you think?
I do. Oddly, I've been eating a lot of macadamia nuts lately. Melissa bought this bucket, from Costco of chocolate and caramel covered macadamia nuts.
Okay.
I don't know that I get macadamia nuts, but I get something nutty in there. The rest of that description I think is apt. And I don't. What do we have any idea what we pay for that? If somebody doesn't give it to you,
I don't know.
Lush.
I know.
If that's $30, I would be happy to buy it.
I think so too. Yeah. I would. Yeah, I think 30 is pretty reasonable. 50, it'd be pushing it.
No way I pay 50 for that.
Yeah, I think 50 if it was a friend. But it's good as young whiskeys go. I would say it's good.
Yeah. Like I said, I like drinking Old Tub. It's young. It's got a bunch of oak in the front of it. I think that might even be more enjoyable than Old Tub.
I would agree.
I don't feel like I taste something else in there that shouldn't be in a whiskey, like I do the smoked rye from Peachtree. Anyway, I'd be happy. And a cool label.
Yeah. I think the label's pretty actually quite cool.
Nice.
And I think I said in the video too that I think when this is aged, 6 to 10 years, I think this is going to be really good.
Different whiskey for sure.
Yeah. I think it's going to be really good.
Yeah.
So I think, if I'm thinking, okay, this is young now, but in a few years when I see this on the shelf, I'm going to pick this up.
I think, when I went back to the Atticus Jones, my opinion that drinking that's not going to turn somebody off if that's the first thing. Same with that.
Yeah.
They're going to drink that and go, well, it's a pleasant whiskey. Yeah. It's got the right flavors. It feels good. I don't think anybody would turn that down.
Yeah. Can we agree that this is the winner of the...
That is the winner of the impromptu, what we didn't think was going to be a taste test. Yeah. But of those 4 bottles of locally distilled or small craft distillers, young-ish type whiskeys, that certainly wins.
And I don't know if we actually said the name of this, but it's Divine Spirits Quarter Cask Ancient Greens.
Yeah, quarter cask being a small cask.
Yeah.
Yeah. So typical bourbon barrel is 53 gallons. Quarter cask is not, I don't think they're actually a quarter that size.
Wait. I'm good at math. It's a quarter of that.
I don't think quarter cask actually means a quarter of a particular thing, but it's a smaller barrel, but not tiny. A lot of these craft distillers will use 10-gallon barrels. I don't think, quarter cask doesn't necessarily mean that. It also doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
So
I actually never tried the Leopold Brothers tonight. I had it many nights ago, but
yeah, I think when you call something whiskey, you leave an awful lot open versus calling it a bourbon or a rye or something.
Yeah, it's almost a little bit of a cheat. Yeah,
I don't know if it's a cheat. It's just you weren't specific.
It's a lead off of first base.
Yes.
Yeah,
for sure, for sure.
Oh wow, that's. Yeah, I just poured the Leopold Brothers, and to me that's pure grappa.
Yeah, it's young, and it's again I don't remember off the top of my head the TTB rulings on what a whiskey is, but that I would bet there's coloring and something else in that.
Do you happen to know off the top of your head anything about Stranahan's age statements or anything like that?
Stranahan, as far as I know, don't age state anything, but they'll tell you that the standard, the yellow label is, I think they say it's generally 4 to 6 years old.
Okay. So that's pretty young too, but I think Stranahan's a standout.
I'm going to tell you something about Stranahan's. You get a Stranahan's single barrel at cask strength.
Yeah.
That is
fantastic.
Fabulous. Yeah. That's a fantastic whiskey.
And I think you and I disagree on this, but the sherry cask, phenomenal.
Yeah, I've only had the tiniest little sip of that, so I don't want. Now I
it's
like
expensive though.
I like what do they call the black label? Is that Diamond Peak?
Diamond Peak, yeah.
We had that at the distillery tour. That was outstanding.
Really,
I really enjoyed that.
I liked the sherry cask better than the Diamond Peak.
Yeah, I think basically the Diamond Peak is the same as the yellow, just a couple of years extra on it.
Yeah.
I thought that was fat. I think I said it one time. This is. If we could talk some Scotch distillers into using new barrels, this might be what we get because it's a single malt product. Yep. If you pass up a chance at a store pick or something that's a single barrel cast strength Stranahans, you're passing up something really different and unique in the market and delicious by itself. Yeah. I made some Manhattans with them that was fabulous with that. And that's a really good whiskey.
Stranahan's doing something special down there. That's
cool tour.
Yeah,
cool tour if you ever get to go here in Denver.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. That was fun. I learned some stuff. I want you, not that it's necessarily young at 5.5 years, but I want another. My first experience with the Woody Creek Distillers.
Sorry, now it's my turn to make faces.
But my first experience when I opened up the bottle of that Woody Creek, let me hold. I'll hold and tell you what I think.
Water first.
Dan was kind enough to let me form my own opinion. I'll let him form his own opinion, but I want a sip too because I haven't had a sip of that in a while.
All right,
I hope you're cooking something good for dinner because I'm not going anywhere for a while.
Got some pot roast. Yeah. All right. Well, what do you? So sorry. Tell me.
So Woody Creek. So that's a wheated bourbon. It's a 70% corn, 15% malted barley, 15% corn. 15% wheat. Single barrel product. Went in, came out about 5.5 years apart. Should be right up my alley. Out of the bottle when I first twisted the top off.
This is 120 proof.
120 proof. Yeah, it is. It is. Again, let me go ahead and let Dan form his own opinion.
So this is interesting because I get less of the grappa taste, or the grappa nose, I should say.
Well, you're 5.5 years old.
Yeah, and it's it's more sugary, cinnamony. That's hard to say, even when I'm sober.
And you're not.
I'm definitely not at this point. I like the nose. It's not overwhelming, but
that is a far better nose than when I first opened the bottle.
I think it's pleasant. Yeah, I mean it's sweet. It's
when I opened the bottle originally, the nose out of the bottle, I went, "Wow, that's amazing!"
Yeah.
And then, but just a few seconds later, when I poured it in the glass,
not so much.
I don't know what it was.
I think the nose is pretty nice. It's sort of clovey and sweet, and I think it's pretty good. All right, so let's give it a sip. Ooh, that's hot. Oh, that's hot. Oh, that's hot.
At least before, it took a few seconds. That was like,
right off the.
That's wow. A minute it hit my mouth. It was 1,000,000 degrees.
All right, once the heat cools off. Wow, that is kick-ass hot.
It's a little bit dry too. Good Lord, that's hot.
That is really hot. Wow. The flavors are actually not bad. The finish is quick, almost.
I don't know how you figured the flavors out amidst all that heat.
I mean, it's mostly cinnamon. Let's be honest, but as hot whiskeys go, this isn't the worst I've had. Like, remember? Well,
the finish is nice now.
Yeah, I can think of a hot whiskey you and I had where we poured it in my yard.
Yeah,
and this is not that.
It's just hot enough that I'm so distracted by that I can't tell what's under it.
If this was proofed down to 100, I think this would be better.
But
it's not. It's actually.
I've watered it and it does help. The little tiny bit of water tamps the heat amazingly.
It is hot. It's distractingly hot. But the flavors are there.
Sometimes at night, if we've had pizza,
you're farting into the sheets.
It's not the farting. It's the acid reflux.
Yeah.
Nah, I just took that one sip and sat here for the last minute.
Yeah.
I feel acid reflux.
Yeah.
That's hot.
It is hot. It's really, I think, okay, so the downfall of this whiskey is that it's far too hot. But I think there are flavors there that are worth.
Yes.
I think it maybe over ice or something.
I'm going to tell you this. It's been open about 2 weeks. It is much more palatable now. It's just as hot as it was before, but now there's more flavor.
Yeah.
I'm going to guess if I proofed that down to 90, 95, it's probably pleasant. I've not tried that. I did splash some water in it when I first opened it, and the heat can go mostly away.
Yeah.
But there still wasn't any flavor. Now I'm betting there's some flavor under it. And I get a citrusy kind of syrupy under it. But the problem is, I think 70% corn. Rye and wheat and barley are referred to in bourbon as the flavoring grains because frankly, corn just doesn't have a lot of flavor. And that's where I think the problem's going to be is that it's sweet, but that's the corn. There just isn't enough of the other grain to offer enough flavor. If that was 60% corn and 25% wheat or 25% malted barley, I think we'd have something.
Yeah, calling this a wheated bourbon, I mean, just seeing wheated on the label, I expect something completely different.
Yeah.
It's hot.
It's hot and it's corn dominant.
But yeah, it's super corn dominant. But I won't say it's bad. I mean, it's quite good actually if you can get to the flavors.
If you got to find them though, and the heat just obscures the flavors.
This definitely makes you work for it.
Yeah, it's going to take some time with some water. I did try, for what it's worth, leaving it on the counter for a while. That didn't necessarily tame it at all.
I bet this over like a really big cube of ice would actually be pretty refreshing in the summer. That's my guess. Because the flavors are there. It's you just get immediately distracted from the
Now,
heat.
I'll tell you that I just finished that little sip, and it was it was maybe a quarter ounce. And without so much.
You don't get that heat.
Yeah, it's clovey. Did you say cloves earlier? Because it's definitely clovey. There's something there. There's something to work with on that for sure.
I'm not ready to give up on this.
I'm not either.
I think this is pretty good.
Yeah.
I think this needs the proof is a problem. I think it is. Yeah.
It's a problem because your head's going to explode from how much alcohol.
Shit, that heat.
It's hot.
You have to bleep that.
Do I have to?
I don't know. I don't think so. Nobody listens to us.
I listen 2 or 3 times.
My wife will be offended.
I listen 2 or 3 times before I publish these.
You're going to be offended. No, it is really hot. I think the heat is what really distracts from a good flavor.
Yeah, for sure. That's sad because if we're back to that whole point of people coming into it and why are young whiskeys this or that?
Yeah.
If you just went, you know what, I'm going to stretch a little bit. That's not the oldest whiskey. It's a local distiller. And then you take a sip and it blows your head off.
Yeah.
Not everybody knows to give it time. Not everybody knows to work with it. Not everybody knows to drop a little water or pour it over some ice, and they're going to move on. And that's, I think for this whiskey, that's unfortunate because I like you. I think there's something in there.
Yeah. It's interesting to me that this whiskey is actually 120 proof because I think a lot of these small batch, limited edition, small distilleries, they go for a lower proof. And I think that's on purpose.
I don't know what their normal offerings are, but that's a single barrel pick.
Yeah.
And so they will often have to proof those a particular way if they've got a TTB label approved. And if they don't, then it's a different process. So I imagine they probably got a label approved at 120 and that's where they proof it.
This is not bad.
It's not. There's hope for that. I'm going to keep working on that. I got 2 of those bottles. They have names that are suggestively offensive. They're called Woody Creek Distillers. If you look on the little black label, that's
I wouldn't say that.
Yeah, I did in the video. But anyway, there's something there, and I'm glad. I want to give it a shot. But I've got a second one of those that really looks like the same specs, maybe just a sister barrel. So we'll see if it's any different when I open it. And I also will give it kudos for. I looked at that enclosure on the top and thought, "Holy crap, it's going to take me forever to get that open." But the truth is, I pulled the plastic off and unscrewed the top, and it was great. And while I would rather have always a natural cork. If I can't have that, I just soon take a screw top because it's dry here in Colorado, and a screw top will seal up a bottle better than anything.
Yeah. Hey, that's an attractive little bottle.
It's a gorgeous bottle.
Yeah.
And I love the fact how much information they gave you.
They do. They give you, they're telling you up front everything about this whiskey.
And that, to me, that's worth something. I will certainly give more Woody Creek. And by the way, they do gins. I don't drink vodka, but they do vodka. They do all sorts of things. So if you're in the area or if your area is serviced by that brand, give it a shot. I think that's worth looking at.
I'm going to close the show with some grappa.
Grappa and out.
Because why not?
Yeah, why not? I think that's fun. This has been great, Dan. Good topic. Good to bring people into new whiskeys and talk about why new whiskeys are good and some aren't. But I think really the truth is you got to give stuff a try. It's about what's in the bottle.
Yeah, and I think there's a craft to distilling. I mean, that's the bottom line.
Yeah, there is a craft to distilling. Whether you're Jim Beam or whether you're Woody Creek or Ancient Grains.
Yeah, I think you got to work hard at this.
You do. This has been fun. I'm going to hang around for a while because I don't, or call an Uber.
Mark will be here tomorrow sometime.
Yeah, maybe we could do an episode about how long it takes for all this stuff to wear off.
Don't drink and drive.
Don't drink and drive for sure. So I'm not going to. I'm going to sit here for a while.
I got a
cool
bicycle.
off.
You can ride home.
Well, we don't want to drink and ride either.
That's true.
But luckily, I got some time.
Yeah.
Thanks, Dan. Cheers, man.
Cheers.